all I could see was this thing. So I was all excited. I didn't see anything else. I went running back to Billy, and he just shrugged his shoulder and took me in his back room, and he had taken plaster casts of little tiny ones, footprints. And he says, don't you know the stories of leprechauns and fairies? In other words, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Absolutely.
So then we started talking about the extraterrestrials of all kinds, from all over the place. And there's all kinds of them around the planet, and other places. And anyway, his story opened up the whole thing. When I got through with the information for that week, I basically entered into an agreement to publish their information that they had, the Pleiadians, who had given it to Billy.
Through Billy, then. Except
for we had a problem. Billy had signed away the worldwide rights to a story to that couple in Phoenix.
Okay, the ones that took your money and never paid you back.
Yeah, who I was already filing a lawsuit against, right?
Okay.
So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you, we can break that contract. I don't have a problem. My attorneys in California happen to be the attorneys for the Screen Actors Guild. That's Dern, Mason, Plown.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I said, I come in and I said, I'll have my attorneys arrange it and we'll get rid of all of this thing. So I said, well, I'll fly back to the United States. We'll take care of it. Anyway, I flew back to the United States. I gave it to Dern. He looks at me like I'm a total nut, but he didn't care. He just wanted the money. Here I'm talking with extraterrestrials. I mean, it's illogical.
And this is coming from a businessman who's built shopping centers and what have you. Yeah.
You got it, And anyway, I told him, I said, so you fix it up. I need to get this contract taken care of, and I'm not going. I'm always always been in court because if you're a real estate developer, I don't care what happens, you're getting shot at. You understand?
Yeah.
Just part of the sequence. Anyway, after about a month, he calls me on the phone and he says, come on back over to our office. And so from this office, he says, I've got it arranged. Now, you fly Billy over to the United States. We'll have a hearing in front of the judge, and we'll get this contract terminated, and you can go about your business, with whatever you're doing with extraterrestrials. And I said, from his office, which was at 1600 Avenue of the Flakes, if you're familiar with the place.
Avenue of the Flakes?
Well, stars.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I flew back we called Billy in Switzerland. And I said, Billy, I'm going to send an airplane ticket, and you're going to come on over here, and we're going to set this meeting with the judge. And then he goes into his shock treatment. He said, George, I'm not leaving Switzerland. Remember, I showed you pictures of California basically being destroyed by a massive earthquake, which he did. He says, I do not know the sequence of events or when it's going to happen, but I'm safe here.
He's petrified to leave, wasn't he?
Well, he says, I got 3 children. I'm safe. I said, look, I understand. And he says, you're going to have to find another way. And I says, look, let the extraterrestrials do it. And basically what had happened at the next step is to keep me fairly grounded because of what happened. My wife and I, when we left Beverly, I lived in North County, San Diego at that time, and I had a little SL convertible. I was driving down the road.
You did well for yourself.
Well, I had all the adult toys, let's put it that way. Anyway, what happened is that in broad daylight, I'm having one of those beam ships that you probably see in some of the movies that you have, or you go to my website, for instance, you'll see a picture of a beam ship.
Which is nohoax.com.
Right. Anyway, one of those in broad daylight in Southern California followed us for about a half hour, just to remind me what was going on was for real.
And it was just you it was following? Nobody else?
Just me. My wife and I, we were both sitting there. We're looking, this is right on, 405 going south. So to give you an idea, here it is. We're looking out. It's probably 200 yards off the side, of the highway, but just floating down the road. It was an interesting situation to me, but it was just kind of a wake-up call to what's going on.
Why, at what point in your life, it started, of course, when you were in the military, you were very successful financially, you didn't seem like you needed any of this. What spurred your interest? What kept driving you to do this?
Well, all the information that they shared with me, George, you're talking about here's the Pleiadians who said they engineered the planet for 500 million people. I have to digress a little bit at this time. When I was growing up in the game of Monopoly, I was into banking and everything. I was asked to be the finance chairman for the next president of the United States.
What year was that? Are you going to tell
Jimmy
us?
Carter.
Okay.
That was 27 years ago, I guess it was. Anyway, 2 years, we had a private meeting up in Aspen. And this is 2 years before he became president. He was not there, but a lot of the other world leaders were. as I'm sitting in the meeting, I said, why me? And they said, well, we owe you a favor. I had been running around with the group that is planning on taking over the world, frankly.
You were part of the One World government?
No, I wasn't part of it. The One World government is actually people behind the scenes. It's people that manipulate. A best way to describe that, we have the best government money can buy.
I believe that.
Well, it's true. I mean, when they asked me, you're talking about a guy that started a $100 million project. In the meeting, they said, we'll put it on ice. In other words, basically, warehouse the project. And I said, okay. And I said, who's going to be the next president? And they said, Jimmy Carter. And I said, Jimmy who? Because I didn't know who he was.
Nobody did at the time.
No, he said, well, they said he was the Democratic governor of Georgia. And I said, I've been voting Republican. And an interesting thing happened. One of the other gentlemen come over, and he says, his name was Paul Volcker, and he says, son, don't worry about it. We control them both. I knew that. And I said, well, I need to think about this, guys. And they said, well, sit down, we'll talk to Ted. So I sat down with Ted Kennedy. You know that guy.
Yeah, we've heard of his name.
Well,
we've heard of
I was sitting next to him, and I said, Ted, what is this job? I mean, I'm building projects. He'll give you an idea. And now all of a sudden I'm going to go out of my element and start going into the game of politics. And politics is two words. You know,
had they ever talked money to you, or you had to give all that up, or what?
Well, no, they were going to warehouse. I had plenty of money. I didn't have any problem with it.
So you didn't care about it?
No, it was a game of Monopoly. We sat down. Actually, I got to the point where if you weren't smart enough to get up where we were, and that's what we felt, I mean, that's what everybody was, then you deserve what you're going to get.
So you were in the group where once you got past the money, it was the power, it was the game, like Monopoly. That's what challenged you.
Yeah, Kissinger said it all. He says the absolute aphrodisiac is power.
Is power. That's true.
Exactly. Anyway, their game is, and Kissinger also says the problem with the planet right now is the population. And sitting in on the meetings, I sat with the governor, and Pierre Trudeau was there at the meeting, to give you an idea.
From Canada.
Yeah, he was. Remember, he's a one-term one-term prime minister.
Yeah.
So he was also there, and there was a lot of other people I could share. They were world leaders at the time, and I'm kind of confused, frankly, at this whole game, because thought I was just up there as another development project, Anyway, what had happened at this point, I through the sequence of events, this was on a Friday, they asked me, I declined on Monday. During this period of time, they laid out what they called the Plan 2000. Now, this is 26 years ago. The Plan 2000 calls for global control of the entire planet. It calls for a war to get started in the Middle East in the year 2000 and reduction of the world's population down to 500 million, with only 20 million Americans to be left alive.
20 million of the 300 we have now?
Well, that's about right. Now, they also calls for reduction of the world's of the population by all means necessary. We actually discussed using neutron bombs on the major cities.
Welcome back. I'm George Norrie. George Green, my guest tonight. George, so you're in this meeting with all these heavy hitters, and they're telling you some of these things. Did you flinch at all?
No, because it made a lot of sense. I mean, you and I both know we have a problem on the planet. I mean, we just have a lot of people, and everybody talks, so we have too many of them. Just so you know, we have about 6 billion people on the planet. We're increasing by 300,000 a day, or 3 million every 10 days. And the infrastructure just isn't there to take care of it anymore. I mean, I flew all around this planet and with a lot of things in a lot of different directions to see what's going on.
Yeah, but you did say that they used the phrase, by any means.
That's right, by all means necessary.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's kind of scary, isn't it?
Well, again, I told you that they were planning on using neutron bombs on the major cities, but the biologicals are much cheaper, as you know. And most of the biologicals they have set into motion in a lot of different places, but they have to follow the prophecies that are set up, biblically and everything to get the war started in the Middle East.
Yeah, but who died and made these people God, George?